Today, I'm going to tell you a story. A story about a kingdom that flourished beautifully over time, only to eventually fall with the fate of devastation. The ruler of that kingdom really wanted to hold the kingdom together for a long time, but eventually had to give up on it. The kingdom I'm talking about is called the Jet Airways, and the ruler I'm talking about is called Mr. Goyal, who is the founder chairman of the company. A very good evening, my fellow Toastmasters, and a very good evening to all our guests as well.
Good evening.
So, how many of you remember that time when traveling in flights was considered as a luxurious event? You'll remember, Angad sir might remember, and a lot of old people also might remember. A lot of flying there, Angad sir is old. And even I remember that. Okay, I remember the time when we were given those delicious meals, and we had music, and we had a TV in front of us. Remember that time? Aircraft was used to treat us as guests in that aircraft, right? But in that time, there was this one airline called the Jet Airways. Now, Jet was founded in 1992 by Mr. Naresh Goyal as a private airline. It took 2-3 years for Jet Airways to get the permit of flying as a private airline carrier in this country because of the laws of India. Alright, so in 1995, it became a private airline in our country along with Air India and Indian Airlines, and it just took 6 years, just 6 years for Jet Airways to become the largest airline in our country. Now, Indian Airlines and Air India joined hands and they overthrew Jet Airways from the top spot. But Jet Airways took only 3 years again to gain that spot from Air India. In 2010, Jet Airways was again the largest airline in the country with the largest market share, more than 25%. Such was the story of Jet Airways, the success story of Jet Airways. But soon, the clouds around Jet Airways started becoming dangerously dark. Cut to 2018. Jet Airways reported a loss of more than 1,300 crores in August of 2018. It had such a sour moment in their business that they had to cut down on the salaries of most of its employees. The DGCA, which happens to be the regulatory body of civil aviation in our country, they even run investigation to see that whether Jet Airways had enough funds to even run those airlines without causing harm to us passengers. Such was the state, and to say that the whole air around Jet Airways was turning turbulent, that would be an understatement. In 2019, it had to stop most of its flights. A large number of Jet Airways flights were cancelled, and there were investigations going on against Jet Airways for financial misappropriation. The offices were raided. They were incurring losses in all their departments of business, right? So it was coming to a state where Jet Airways could not know how to control the company or run the company in the least. Soon, Jet Airways had to stop all its operation, including the international and domestic. Now, it can be said in a general way that running a private airline in our country is very difficult. We saw it with Kingfisher, we saw it with Air Deccan, we saw it with Air Sahara. Now, we can make that general statement, but Jet Airways was very different. Now, Jet Airways was so successful at one point when Kingfisher or Air Deccan, they were struggling to even earn profits. For such a company to have a debt of more than 8,400 crores at one point is very surprising. But why did that happen? That's why I'm here, to tell you why that happened. Now, there are 3 major reasons for it. Number 1, Jet Airways was a full service flight. So the flight I talked to you about who treated us as guests, that was Jet Airways. They used to give us delicious meals, this TV with movies, you had multiple privileges and amenities given by these airlines. So and these were called full service airlines. And what did this do? This increased the price of that specific seat, and that is the reason we had such high prices back then, because the cost of operating a single seat in an aircraft was very high with all these services that they were providing, right? But then comes Indigo, a low cost airline. Indigo gives us nothing. Okay, they don't give us food, they rather ask us to buy it. I'm surprised at this point that Indigo is not selling water. Okay, you ask 1 glass of water, they will give you 1 glass for free. It's very surprising to me at this point. Pretty sure 2 years down the line, we will have to pay for that as well. But for now, we are good. So, Indigo was a low-cost airline. All it did was provide a clean, cool aircraft at affordable prices. Now, prices so low that a large group of people in our country found traveling by air very affordable. Now Jet Airways and Indian Airlines, Air India were struggling with this new competition in market. There was fierce competition because everyone started preferring Indigo. Now what Jet Airways did, that it reduced the price of they reduced the airfare basically without reducing the operating cost. What does that mean? That the services they were providing was still the same. They still gave that food, they still gave that music, and at a very low cost. Okay, the price that we were paying. So this was a massive burden on the financials. Number two, the second reason was the crude oil fluctuation, the prices and fluctuation of crude oil. So all these airlines that we see, they're very sensitive to fluctuation in crude oil market, right? Because crude oil is used as a fuel for aviation turbine. Okay, so they're very sensitive. So the fluctuation in overall crude oil prices, and also coupled with the rupee, the depreciation of the rupee value, led to a massive burden again. Now coming to the third point, and perhaps the major point, Jet did not have the money to operate. Okay, they were in a debt trap with large losses. Okay, so they desperately needed someone to come in and help them out of the situation. Right? Now, for example, if you are in a debt trap, you need a friend to show a hand and pull you out of the debt trap. And Jet Airways had two companies that came forward. They wanted to help Jet Airways. They even offered to buy the company out. But they had one strong condition. One strong condition, that they wanted Naresh Goyal out of the company. Now at this point, Naresh Goyal was that ruler who could not let go of his fallen kingdom and held it firmly in his hands. And both these deals fell apart. Now, while he might have held it for some time, it was soon that Jet Airways had to give up control to a bank-led resolution plan. So State Bank of India and other lenders, they made a group and they took the largest stake in the company and forced Naresh Goyal and Anita Goyal, who is his wife, out of the company. Now after this, most people thought that this is the end. This is the end of Jet Airways. But cut to 2022. There's a new administration of Jet Airways. The company was bought by a UAE-based businessman and a UK-based company, and they're planning to run the airline again. In May of this year, they carried out the first airline after 3 years, and right now we are just hoping that Jet Airways provides what it claims in its tagline, the joy of flying to its passengers. Thank you so much.